So, what the hell is this video? Something that I've always wanted to do is make a news show, and for a lot of reasons. The first being that every time I have talked about news, I would always get super depressed right after since it's usually really bad. I already keep up with it in general and always have a lot of thoughts on it, but I've never had an outlet to express them. Here I can do that focusing on a lot more fun stories, and yeah, I enjoyed writing this video a lot. It's also gonna allow me to have a more consistent upload schedule, meaning that YouTube will like me more. I also won't be able to go radio silent on you guys, sorry about that, especially when I'm working on really big videos. I'm gonna be doing this once a month, compiling the news stories that I find the most interesting or entertaining of the prior, so in this case January. Which I know is pretty late, and that's because I underestimated this current manga video, so that's all on me. It just happens that this new series solved a lot of issues with the channel, and since I've already dipped my toes into this style of content with my topicals, and you guys seeming to like those, I thought, why not give it a shot? These are just topicals with a lot more variety, so they're gonna be edited in the same quick and simple way. If there's ever a story that's too big for here, I'll make a separate video like I've always been doing. If y'all don't like this, I'll pull the plug, but remember that it's all a work in progress, so any thoughts on how to make it better is always appreciated. I think that covered everything, so with all that out the way, let's finally start the anime recap. Of course, the first news story is licensing related, that of Sentai Filmsworks being bought by AMC Network, the people behind The Walking Dead and Breaking Bad. With the acquisition was also HIDIVE Sentai streaming service. I couldn't find the actual monetary figures in any of the reports, most likely since it was nowhere near the 100 million and 1 billion that their competitors spent. But a few million is still no laughing matter. While this does look scary, Sentai is going to keep doing their own thing with pretty much no interference since AMC obviously doesn't know much about anime. The other great result from this is that Sentai is no longer up for grabs. We don't have to worry about them being added to the ever-growing Sony monopoly, plus they themselves now have a big corporation backing them. While AMC is way smaller compared to Sony, who's worth 55 billion, and Netflix is 225 billion, Jesus Christ, they're still worth 10 billion, which is a lot of change. But unlike them, AMC's primary focus is television. Their press release made it sound like they just wanted to expand their catalog and were really desperate to get in the anime market. They have a lot more to lose here since it's their main gig, so don't be surprised if they're willing to spend more capital compared to the other two. Which we may already be seeing since in Sentai's upcoming release slate, the Netflix anime Drifting Dragons will have its original English dub. I've talked about this before, but I'll give you the cliff notes. Netflix would always price their dubs too high for Sentai, hence them dubbing Baki, Kakegurui, and Vinland Saga since it was just cheaper than paying for them. And that's bad since it alienates a potential market of people they really need. Drifting Dragons shows a possible much brighter future for the company where they can actually keep up with the competition. The anime licensing industry has changed so much in just the last few months, so only time will tell how this plays out. I'm just happy they're not going anywhere since they serve as a wild card in the battle between Sony and Netflix, which is very much needed now. I'm also just glad they're not going the way of the dodo since they're one of my fave licensors. The big AMC news took away focus that Sentai may start licensing indie anime. This came with their acquisition of the Pierre Ito indie shorts, which reflects their commitment to release anime that aren't always conventionally produced through the anime industry. Anime by smaller groups or even single people have been happening more and more over the years, with amazing stuff being made. That it's criminal they can't be released like the projects backed by big companies, which is what makes this exciting since they might reach a much wider audience while differentiating Sentai in the current market. Last Sentai news, I promise. Jesus, they had a really good January. Made in Abyss got added to Toonami, alongside a bunch of other anime like Assassination Classroom, a stealth release of Shenmue, and the big one in figurative and literal sense being the return of One Piece. For those out of the loop, it used to be on the block 4 years ago before getting pulled because of poor numbers. The head of Toonami, Jason DeMarco, went into more detail about the return on his Twitter, explaining that the TV landscape has changed in the time it's been gone, also implying that Toei might have more control over it in the US compared to Funimation. Toonami has to spend money to acquire shows that can potentially bring more eyes on the block. It's a massive game of risk and reward that didn't go so well the first time for One Piece. So the fact that they're trying this again, which is a long-term commitment by the way, means that it's so much more popular now that it outweighs the potential money loss. He even made a tweet alluding to that. Basically, One Piece is doing the best it's ever been in the US, and that's great to hear. By the way, in that same thread, Jason talked about how they tried to get Fairy Tail in the past, but it never went anywhere due to pricing negotiations. So sorry Fairy Tail fans, I know some of you have been asking for this one forever. He's pretty transparent about the industry on his Twitter, especially when he does his Q&As like the one he did a week later, where he confirmed that the value of the Demon Slayer anime went up because of the crazy success of the movie. I think we all knew that, but having an actual confirmation is always nice to hear. The originals they've been pumping out have also been doing really well for the network, and that's before they drop on HBO Max, where they will reach a much bigger audience, so they can only go up from there. Speaking of originals, Fena is totally wrapped, which I feel was kinda obvious with the finale. I'm bringing this up since apparently the network wanted more but didn't because of the director. Whatever your thoughts are on the finale, we can at least agree that it's great seeing a big company respect their creator's vision, and that says a lot about how they're handling all the shows in their pipeline. One that we don't know, confirmed for this year, with another brief for the following, and no, not Uzumaki since it was announced a while ago, which is confirmed to be headed to HBO Max since it isn't a Crunchyroll co-production like the last three. Makes it sound even more promising since they have to be quite confident in it to own it outright. But yeah, Jason just casually announced another show for this year and no one noticed, which is kinda crazy. We've been talking about him for a little too long, so let's talk about his right-hand man, Gil Austin, for a quick second, who got promoted to Vice President and Creative Director of Creative Productions at Adult Swim, managing structure of promotions, marketing, and leading all of its creativity. This is amazing news because Gil's been with Adult Swim since 1996 and worked on the launch of Toonami, being the second half to Jason running everything about it to this day. The two people that spearheaded anime's popularity are now running everything creative at Warner, Jason developing shows with Gil handling all the marketing and talks between partners. It's one of those rare cases of passion being recognized and rewarded, which is what we want to see more of in this industry. The next era of animation is looking more exciting now that he's one of the people behind it, and I just want to say, congrats Gil, you def earned it, and I can't wait to see what you do in the future. I feel like we're having a good time, so let's ruin it with an NFT segment. Yeah, so sorry guys, no fun today. The first being that week when Troy Baker got into NFTs. The backlash being so massive not only from fans but his fellow voice actors that he would later back out from it. The public opinion on them is overwhelmingly negative, so how he thought this was a good idea is anyone's guess. What makes this even more wild is that he's on a podcast with two people that actively hate on NFTs, so it's even more confusing that he did this. One of the funny things to come out of this is that Matt Mercer started trending by proxy. He's taken over a few roles from Troy, so people were just pretending that he did all his big characters, which is totally deserved and really sweet at the same time. That love was very much validated a week later when Twitter introduced their stupid NFT hexagons. Matt's reaction being base as hell. Shonen Jump also made a huge impression that same week when they tweeted an upcoming announcement. The reaction was less than ideal, so much so that they had to follow it up confirming it's not NFTs. The memes, as you can expect, were pretty great, but I just find it funny that a harmless looking tweet can instill so much fear this easily on thousands. The tease was for their official store, and while it's not NFTs, it still feels like a huge scam, going for a limited run model increasing the price of all of their merch. Which would be okay if it looks high end, but that's not the case here at all. Plain shirts with just their logo or a single same size manga panel for $40. These slip-ons being $50, the socks are separate being $20 by the way. Doing this sock and sandal combo would cost you the same as buying a PS5 game, think about that for a second, Jesus Christ. I've seen unofficial shops in Peru that look 10 times more official and high quality than what Shonen Jump is putting out. All of these things being roughly $25, just saying. The NFT scare might have been a blessing for them since not doing NFTs makes anything look a million times better. It's why I think no one's called them out on it since it is just a harmless store. Something they've already sold out, what the frigging hell? It is still better than NFTs, so I guess that's what matters. Kinda feels like a hollow victory to be honest. Let's clean the palette by talking about something you can actually touch and hold. Good old physical media. Nozomi Entertainment, the company behind Right Stuf, made a fun little video exploring their vault. They're one of the lesser known licensors that's been doing work since 1987, thus having tons of material they wanted to show off. Also going into everything they have to do to preserve these classics, as well as the evolution of formats over the years. From original Astro Boy film reels to beta tapes and HD cams, it's a very informative video that shed light on something very underappreciated, so I'm giving it a shout out. And speaking of preserving anime...
Hello, I'm Sevin Yatman Eiffel, the creator, writer, producer, and co-director of Oban Star Racers, an unusual anime series that was released 15 years ago. Crafted by a small team of crazy, dedicated French artists, produced in Japan, and featuring a kick-ass tomboy female heroine, there was nothing really quite like Oban when it was released.
The long-forgotten Oban Star Racers is making its return through Kickstarter. The anime was created by a tiny French team that through pitch meetings allowed it to be produced in Japan, giving it a very unique style and concept that still stands out today. The international synergy would later extend to it being broadcasted all over the world in the 2000s, which is how I watched it on Jetix. Even though it was doing well, the distributor would lose interest in it, and with the number of international hands related to getting it off the ground, it would disappear because of legal issues. With the original creators fighting to get the rights back for over a decade, finally succeeding in 2018. It's been a long time coming for this Kickstarter, where its goal is to give it a proper Blu-ray using its original masters, making it the best it's ever looked. It's straight up just a great show, which makes a lot of sense when you see the people who worked on it. The co-creator being the character designer for Space Dandy, the background mecha designer later working on Macross Delta and Sakugan, to even the storyboarders of Death Note, Planetes, and Samurai Champloo. The composer having done Rurouni Kenshin and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Hayao Miyazaki's editor, and even the legendary Yoko Kanno for the theme songs. There's a lot of history in this series, hence why they're putting so much care into this release. From restoring the masters, resyncing 11 dubs, and having 3 different subtitle files, the passion here gives Discotek Media a run for their money, and that's the best kind of compliment to get. The Kickstarter also serves as a way to show investors interest in the franchise. The creators have been vocal for years about wanting to do more with Oban, and the better this does, the higher chance of that. It got funded in its first hour, which is awesome, so now it's a way to get a really dope anime while also directly funding its future. We have one more stretch goal to hit with them teasing another, so you should def check it out, since we can always use more original anime. Alright, let's wrap this up with the biggest announcements of the month. Wouldn't really be an anime news show without it, so let's start with the biggie. Lucifer and the Biscuit Hammer will be getting an anime adaptation later this year. I don't know much about this series, but its praises have been sung for a long time, with many videos and even features talking about how it's prime for an anime. And with an MAL score of an 8+, it looks like an underrated gem will be getting its time to shine. Whatever the quality of the anime, it will still expose a brand new audience to the material, boosting the sales and benefiting the creators, so it's good either way. Obviously, I want the anime to be good, and with it being done for a decade, it seems very possible. I find it interesting because this may mark a big shift in the industry. Similar to how long ongoing series faded away for the more standard seasonal model of success equals more seasons, it looks like there might be a rising focus on adapting already or soon to be completed manga, which we're already seeing with stuff like Hell's Paradise, Demon Slayer, Devils a Part-Timer, as well as all the reboots we're getting like Fruits Basket and Shaman King. This can be potentially huge since there's an ocean of untouched manga to look at. Just give me a Zatch Bell anime and I'll be a happy camper. Piggybacking off the last story, Scott Pilgrim is back. Again. Via The Hollywood Reporter, Netflix is producing an anime series with its creator Brian Lee O'Malley as a writer and tag teaming executive producing with Edgar Wright, the director of the fantastic film. The team giving this franchise another life is that of Masaki Yuasa's Science Saru, the guys behind Eizouken, Devilman Crybaby, Walk On Girl, and tons more. Which is a unique choice since they're known for their very minimalistic style, being flat, lineless, and having soft colors, and that's pretty far away from O'Malley's graphic novel. That was comprised of really thick outlines, exaggerated features, and intense coloring, so I'm just wondering how it's gonna be tackled. O'Malley has made tons of art over the years that shows it's possible to keep the energetic look while still toning down parts of the visuals. It's in really good hands either way, and it's an actual anime, which is quite poetic. Years ago, Adult Swim made a short that was a backdoor pilot, and it was all dependent on the success of the film. But since it bombed, it obviously didn't go anywhere. O'Malley has stated that the manga Ranma 1/2 was the strongest influence on his comic, and even leaned into that producing it in black and white. Which makes all of this a very full circle moment that this awesome series is finally getting its dues in animation, not as a cartoon, but as an anime. So now let's go from an anime adaptation loosely inspired by a Rumiko Takahashi manga to another purely based on one, Urusei Yatsura. The Year of the Tiger kicked off with the OG Queen of the Pattern making her return. She'll be getting a new 50+ episode anime later this year, which is huge since this is Rumiko's first classic predating Ranma and Inuyasha. Even if you look at the latest official entry to the franchise, it's still over 30 years ago. I'm very curious how a modern audience is going to react to the never-ending chase of Ataru and Lum, since the series is a bit dated, but not in a bad way. A lot of the tropes that we see in rom-coms now actually stem from this series. The whole darling thing the girl says to the boy, yeah, that was Lum, who's also considered the first tsundere character, so the question now is, will it be a direct adaptation of the manga or a modernized take? Also, something I don't think anyone noticed is that it's being done by David Productions. Yeah, the JoJo and Fire Force people. So, while I have a lot of questions, none of them are about the visual quality since it's gonna look really good. The announcement came with the main pairing already casted, showing that it's been in the works for a little time. Ataru will be voiced by Kamiya Hiroshi, who you know as Levi, La, Saiki, and tons more, with the adorable Lum being Sumire Uesaka, who I think is a perfect choice. She's done loads of energetic young girls, my faves being Dekomori and Tamaki, but recently with Nagatoro she really impressed me. I knew it was her and yet I still didn't recognize her, showing her big range. This role is what made it feel like a no-brainer since she does a great job juggling a lot of emotions while still being presented in a cute, playful manner, which sounds just like Lum, so I'm pretty sure she's gonna be solid. Overall, I'm just super happy for Rumiko Takahashi since she's currently killing it, with Yashahime and now an Urusei Yatsura anime, as well as her catalog being the most accessible it's ever been, thanks to companies like Discotek Media for the movies and Viz Media for all her manga. These guys are the unsung heroes, and I hope that Viz is the one to snag this anime because they def deserve it. Rumiko has been in the game since the 70s and is still putting manga out to this day. So seeing this newfound success and love for her work puts a smile on my face, because she's very much earned it. And that's it for the anime recap. I wanted to end it off on a positive note. Tell me what you guys think of the format. Again, it's a work in progress, so I'm gonna try to improve it. What was your fave story? What completed manga would you like to see adapted? Leave your comments below because I genuinely love seeing your takes and conversations with each other. But as always, bye guys, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.